We didn't say anything. My pastor didn't say anything. I called my pastor out on it, not in church, but afterwards. And so then he wrote an article for our quarterly newsletter about what does God say about marriage. And then he did a series on marriage about God's design for the family. And so we got almost more out of it. But here's a church, one of the largest churches in the state of Iowa, who doesn't want to be political in Des Moines. And the reason I know they don't want to be political is when they asked me to speak there one time, they vetted me to make sure I wouldn't talk about anything about politics. You know what one of the largest churches in the state of Iowa did on Sunday, April 5? And they don't want to be political. The pastor stood up. The pastor asked his congregation to take a look at the title of the message. And they did, had nothing to do with marriage. He said, we're going to get to that in just a minute. He said, but on Friday, you had a Supreme Court say that same-sex marriage is okay in the state of Iowa. He said, I want to tell you where this church stands. And he talked about Old Testament teaching and New Testament teaching as it relates to marriage. And he said, and you need to know that this church will never, ever, ever change. The way we believe in marriage is between one man and one woman. And he said, do you get it? And after they gave him an affirmation nod that, yeah, we get it, he said, okay, we'll go on to the message. Now, was that being political? No, that was being biblical. And we need churches to speak the truth again today, guys. We have 5,200 churches in the state of Iowa. We don't need all 5,200, but we need a remnant to start speaking the truth again. And we need you as congregation members to encourage your pastors, speak the truth, engage the culture, but speak the truth. Because if there's one question that the youth have, whether they verbalize it or whether it's a nonverbal echo in the room, it is, what is truth? And nobody tells them. We believe we need to be a vehicle for truth. That's what we're doing. Two, as Matt talked about, we're about marriage matters. We believe strong marriages lead to strong families, which lead to strong societies. Glenn Zylstra was probably with me in a second semester in-service when I was high school principal in Sheldon. If you've ever been part of a second semester in-service, the snow is usually high, the wind is usually up, the temps are usually cold, and the freshness of the school year is gone. And so in the second semester in-service, people want to start venting a little bit. And usually it's on the negative stuff of school, and we let them vent for a while. But I remember this second semester in-service, I called a timeout, because I used to coach, so I can do that. I called a timeout. I said, we're going to stop the venting for a second. I want to talk about good kids. I said, do we have any? And they paused for a while and they thought. Then pretty soon they gave a name of a good kid, and I wrote the good kid up on the whiteboard. And I said, do we have any other good kids? And they gave another name. And pretty soon another name, and another name, and another name. And we filled the whiteboard filled with good kids. And I said, I want you to take a look at the whiteboard, and I want you to tell me, what do these good kids have in common? You know what it was? They come from good families. They come from good homes. Moms and dads who care about each other, moms and dads who care about the kids, moms and dads who have high expectations, who love the kids, who hold them accountable. Ask any school district across the state. When the good homes are functioning well, what's the net result inside the school? And they'll tell you it's an exponential factor. Positive for the school district. So anybody who's been involved in marriage knows that marriages are tough. You know, Darla right now in Sioux City is raising her hand. You know, marriages are tough. We don't want to condemn people, but what we want to do is we want to nurture with them. We want to go shoulder to shoulder with them. And that's why this Marriage Matters ministry, we have over 1,000 marriage mentor couples across the state. About 100 mentor churches saying that marriage matters, and we want to be authentic about this deal. And then finally, we believe as the family leader, we need to be involved in the public policy debate. And this is the thing that gets all the press. Matter of fact, we believe if we network this right in all 99 counties, we can have influence from the schoolhouse to the White House and everywhere in between. Matter of fact, we have 2 people at the state capitol every day defending the family. Our president of the Iowa Family Policy Center, Chuck Hurley, is there right now. Danny Carroll, former Speaker Pro Tem, at the Capitol right now. We call them our Ezekiel 33, our watchmen on the wall. If it benefits the family, they cheer it on. If it's against the family, they expose it and they try to crush it and squelch it. If you have a homework assignment tonight, I tell you, read Ezekiel 33. And the reason is, God is very clear here. Matter of fact, He's redundantly clear here. He said, if you see your people going in a destructive pattern, in a destructive way, in an errant way, in a sinful way, and if you know better, and yet you don't say anything, God says, I'm going to hold you accountable. That's a high degree of accountability. So there are watchmen on the wall while we're out here doing this deal. We have a couple things we want to make sure gets passed. Defense of Marriage Act. I want you to put on a civics hat just for a second. Do you realize that when this legislature took to its chambers the House and the Senate this year, and they got handed the Iowa Code book, which is all the laws of the state of Iowa? You know what the law is for marriage in the state of Iowa 2011? One man, one woman. The law never changed. It's still in the code book. One man, one woman. Here's the other thing. Governor Culver and now Governor Branstad, neither one of them have ever executed the Supreme Court's opinion. Ever. So the clue phone is ringing in the midst of this room, which means you need to pick up the phone and get a clue. The question is, why are we marrying same-sex couples in the state of Iowa when the law hasn't changed and the opinion's never been executed? You see, can courts execute their own opinion? God help us if they ever can. That's tyranny, not liberty. The only person who executed the opinion was Tom Miller, the Attorney General, and the Attorney General has no executive authority. He falls within the judicial branch. So we're asking the legislature to reaffirm DOMA. We have a marriage rally March 15 at the Capitol. We're going to call out, everybody. Why are we doing this? Let's affirm one man, one woman. Even though Barack Obama says he's no longer going to defend it, which sounds like a chief executive to me, like I get to pick and choose which laws I get to defend and not defend. We also want to have Iowans have an opportunity to vote on the marriage issue. We want to change the way that Supreme Court justices go to the High Court, because it's a rigged system. The Des Moines Register did a full investigative story on this deal. And when they did a full investigative story, it was front page, and the Des Moines Register said it's a rigged system. And if the Des Moines Register is calling this judicial system a rigged system, it's a rigged system. 12 Democrats, 1 Republican, 1 no party affiliate nominating these people to the High Court. Now let me have you put on an executive hat for just a second. I remember when First Reformed Church here was vacant with a pastor. We had a pastor vacancy. It took us well over a year to fill that vacancy. But we found the right one. Okay? I guess I did, but they did. They found the right one. But it took well over a year for them to get Pastor Dave. Northwestern College in Bethlehem, Orange City, is okay, I'm sorry for that. But my dad said Dort's in Jerusalem, Northwestern's in Bethlehem. But Northwestern College, they had a president vacancy. It took them over 18 months to fulfill the president vacancy at Northwestern College. Now what I want you to get, executive leadership matters. That's why they put so much time and energy into it. Here's the deal. You have 3 vacancies at the Supreme Court. 3 vacancies. You have 60 applicants, 60 resumes, 60 case histories to study, 60 interviews. Does anybody get how big this job is? You have 60 applicants that you've got to research. And within 6 hours of the last interview, they've got 9 nominees to the court. Now I know they're good, but they didn't even sleep on it. Does anybody else sniff that this might have been settled before it even started? That's why we need to change that system. And regarding the other judges, I've asked the other 4 judges to resign. The reason is, do the right thing. You still serve the people don't serve the court. We didn't vote off 3 judges because their names were Turnus, Baker, and Strite. If all 7 would have been up, all 7 would have been voted off. So I asked them to resign. And unless I'm misreading their quote, I don't think they're going to, because their quote was, absolutely not. Okay, so I don't think I'm misreading it. And so I do know that there's some legislators in the Iowa House who are drafting articles of impeachment. Now, will they go forward with it or not? I don't know. I haven't read it. But if you're going to impeach justices, you have to prove malfeasance. Malfeasance is a broad term. Malfeasance is you say you're going to do something, then you don't do it. That'd be like my parents saying, Bob, you have a midnight curfew. And I come in at 12:05. You know, they punished me for malfeasance. You know, that I came in at 12:05. I had no idea there's a big train. I'm sorry, Mom, there was a train. And anyhow, you know, and they punished me for malfeasance, and I'm still scarred by that. But I think you can prove malfeasance on justices when they swear an oath to uphold the Iowa Constitution, then they go outside the boundaries of the Constitution. In the Iowa House, you need 50 plus 1 in order to impeach. In the Senate, you need 2/3 to convict. Otherwise, you have to go through a retention vote again. In 2012, Wiggins is up, and in 2016, the other 3 are up. But here's the deal. One of the justices had the opportunity to speak at the University of Iowa Law School, the heart of where conservatives gather. He had the opportunity to speak at the University of Iowa Law Schools, and this is what he said. He didn't think it was going to be recorded. We got it. Someday you might see it in a TV commercial. He said, for those who voted the Supreme Court justices off the bench, they're rednecks and American idiots. 54% of Iowans. And had that vote been taken December 2 instead of November 2, it would have been 65% of Iowans. The more Iowans learned, the more willing they were to vote them off the bench. So we believe we need to be a vehicle for truth. We need to be authentic with our marriage ministry. And we believe we need to be in the public policy debate. And last thing, I'm going to take questions. When I ran for governor, Q&A stood for questions and avoidance. Now it's questions and answers, okay? But the last piece here is when we talk about we want to have influence from the schoolhouse to the White House and everywhere in between. Iowa's in a very privileged place. We get to start off the Iowa caucuses. You get a chance to vet people who want to be the President of the United States. The family leaders launched the presidential lecture series. And we do it at Dordt College, we do it at Pella, and then we go into University of Iowa. Because we believe they need to hear the message. And in February, we had Governor Plaat in, February 7th. Monday, we have at 9 o'clock in the morning at Dordt College, we have Ron Paul coming in. In April, we have Michelle Bachmann. In May, we have Rick Santorum. In June, we have Herman Cain. In July, we have Newt Gingrich. In August, if he runs, I was just on his bus with him Monday night, Governor Mike Huckabee, and he's not going to run. He only had 8 stops in Iowa doing a book tour. I mean, he's not running. But I think he's going to come out and be part of this. We've got invites to Romney, to Palin, to Barber, to Huntsman, to Daniels. But we want them to go on record, and we ask them simply, what's your pro-family vision for America? What's your pro-family vision for America? I'll tell you what Valenti said. He's our first one that came out. Valenti said, number 1 is, we're endowed by our Creator, which means our rights come from God, not from government. 2 is he talked about the sanctity of human life, the sanctity of marriage as the foundation of the family. He talked about pro-family economic policy, defense policy, national debt policy, energy policy. But we got them on videotape and we got them recorded to do this. Now that's a good thing, isn't it? Schoolhouse to the White House and everywhere in between. That's what we want to do. But ladies and gentlemen, if I use a World War II analogy, my dad's generation, we had a World War II veteran at our last stop in Cherokee. They called that generation the greatest generation. And the reason they're the greatest